Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ngani Titan. We're here on Thiepval Ridge with the A44. One of the more dysfunctional relationships that I've had in World of Tanks since I've started playing. There are very few tanks that I've actually out and out hated. Carnarvon comes to mind. Now, I wasn't very good playing the Carnarvon, and I almost gave up on the Conqueror grind when I was using the 20-pounder gun until I got the final gun. Still wouldn't consider myself very good on the Conqueror, or at least I haven't played it very well in any of the games that I've played it, in my opinion. I suppose another tank that I hated was the T14, which is one of the earlier premium tanks that I purchased, and it's kind of ironic because I really like the Excelsior, and the T14 is supposed to be the American version of the Excelsior. I didn't like the T95E2. Well, I kind of liked it, and I was never sure whether my problems with the T95E2 was because it's a bad tank or I was a bad player. I suppose there was a bit of both. I wasn't playing it as well as I should, and I wasn't as good a player as I thought I was. The first tank in the Czech line I didn't like either, but I think that's listed. It's a terrible tank, but most tier 1s are terrible tanks. But the real problem was all those damn T-22 Protos that were floating around on the tier 1 battlefields. But this thing, I've statistically, well, I'm a bit better than normal with medium tanks. I'm still not a great medium tank player, or even a competent medium tank player, but I'm better than most previous efforts at medium tanks. Even arguably better than in the Kraft Panther. That said, I have a relatively limited number of battles in it, so you can never be sure when you're less than 100 battles that the statistics reflect your sort of genuine ability, or whether they're just a random fluke, a run of good games that just happened, or the map of the game and the various other elements came together and suited, which is very possible with small sample sizes. I've come to this side of the map because I reckon this tank works better probably on this side of the map. Now, one of the things that I didn't like about this tank was the lack of view range, but by virtue of training up the skills of the crew and food and coded optics, I reckon I've gotten as good a view range as I can get, which is more or less similar to my being detected range. So at least I can spot the people who see me, and therefore I have the opportunity to shoot back at them. And once you can hit them, the gun is actually pretty good. Not that I'm showing any signs of it there with the Panther. So you can mitigate some of the problems with this tank, but at the same time I'll be glad to see the back of it. The gun has a number of problems: the slow aim time, the lack of elevation, the lack of depression, the lack of accuracy. So you're not always, especially these kind of ranges, putting the shots where you intend them to go. This side of the map I think also is a bit underutilized. Now, I think the thing here is not to actually advance too early, and certainly not do what that BDRG-1B is, where you attempt to cross the open field, and there are just too many tanks defending for that. But the Sherman has the right idea, but he's on his own, and he doesn't have the support to actually pull off the maneuver he's trying to do it. He's not going to succeed in forcing a passage of that open ground on his own. He'd need more tanks probably, and tanks occupying the high ground where they can shoot what he spots, which isn't always the case. You need some tanks probably to come forward as well. It's a difficult enough corner, which is why I think people started to move away from it. And artillery are paying attention as well, which doesn't help. They probably feel they can ignore the heavy tank battle to a certain extent down south, the southeastern corner of the map, which is where a lot of the action seems to occur on this map nowadays. Is a big kind of heavy tank slugfest down around G3, H3, J3, that area, and frequently these days the game is decided on that side of the map. Now I think the opportunity is here for us to push forward. There's the Fury, and so far there doesn't seem to be anybody on the hill in front of me. Which is good for me. It's allowed me to get in probably a lot easier than I would have otherwise. So I'm coming down, might get a shot on the Sherman if my gun aims in time. No, that went over the back of him. I couldn't quite leave it that I'd completely minimised because he would get behind the rocks. Not sure if a better angle would make much of a difference here, and I don't want to go across the road, not with the Fury behind me. But we must come to the corner at some point and see if that Fury peeks out. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that the Fury hasn't just peeked around the corner and taken a shot at me. And he's gone, so he's fled the scene. So has he doubled back up to the hill beside me, or has he gone out of the area for good? Well, just in case he's doubled back, we'll go around by going over rather than taking the quicker route with the driving out into the middle of the field and have him shooting behind me from cover. The one thing I don't want to get into is any kind of long-range firefight with a Fury, because his gun at any kind of decent ranges would be far superior to mine. He'd have me beaten on both rate of fire and accuracy. And there he is. Looks like he was planning to vacate the territory completely. So I want to close the distance, but I want to close the distance and minimise his opportunity to shoot at me. So we get a shot in. All I really need is one more, maybe two. So if we can avoid taking too many hits, that would be nice. And we managed to do it. So that's the Fury out of the equation. So there's just the artillery left. And he actually moved. He had relocated to a more forward position, but he got spotted. Don't know if it was me or the light tank, but somebody spotted him, or maybe the medium going up the river. And there are two heavies left, so those heavies last spotted over around G3, and one of them was just turned up, and the second one's turned up, so they're far into the map, so pretty much a free hand here with the artillery. The only interference in my action could possibly come from my own teammates. Well, I suppose the artillery might have had something to say about it, but he wasn't pointing in the right direction. So we have a Tiger P that looks in dangerously low health, looks suspiciously like a one-shot, and he's over there somewhere. I took the chance of shooting, but the accuracy of the gun, don't know if I would have hit anyway. I think that Tiger P was still moving forward, and even if the round had gone where the shell was aiming, but it went nowhere near where the shell was aiming. So there's the Tiger P again. He must have backed up a bit while I wasn't looking, or when he was invisible. And he's come down into the low ground, so he's probably going to advance along the river line for some purpose or other. Don't know if the artillery is visible from this side, but the Tiger P crops up. His gun or turret isn't pointing in my direction, so he obviously wasn't expecting me to come. The last remaining enemy tank is in front of me, but I've no clear line of sight. And that was rather speculative, because if my tracks are in off the road, my gun is pointing upwards and doesn't actually have the gun depression to get a shot on the O&E. So I'm actually going to use the road and just drive away from the O&E side of the road to the opposite side and down the path a bit to get a decent shot on the O&E. We've managed to hit her too, and he's managed to hit on me, but there's fellow tanks coming up, and that is the end of him. So again, it's a respectable result for this particular tank. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot more to go. I think must be close to the 60,000 XP at this point. There's 110 or something for the to unlock the next tank up, and well, I'm looking forward to it. So we managed to get a first class mastery. We came first by experience. Didn't do the most damage. That was the tank destroyer. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't already done so, please consider giving the channel a subscription. And Once again, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all again soon.